What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Grounded Brand Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon. Got my buddy Colton and Drew here with us again today. And guys, before we hit on this next episode, we just want to take a minute and say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be on your podcast right now. Thank you for those who have taken the time to share, to listen, to shoot us some messages, comment, and everything. You guys have been awesome.
Yep, a lot of feedback so far, which has been great.
Absolutely, man. And we didn't really know what to expect getting into this, but just the outreach that we've had the first couple of weeks, man, it's been pretty remarkable. And we just wanted to make sure that we took time to say thank you for all the support you guys have given to us. It means a lot, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep. So with that being said, we're getting close to the NWTF show, and we just want to go ahead and hit up on that real quick. We wanted to let you guys know that we would be at the NWTF show this year.
Yep.
And Drew, you got the booth that we're going to be in.
Booth 1818.
1818.
It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday show, so don't plan on coming on Sunday because it'll be closed on Sunday.
That's right. Although I've been told that's when you come to get the discounts, right?
Yeah, you'll be too late.
I know, right?
Yep.
All the discounts are going to be long gone by that time. But yeah, be sure to hit us up, booth 1818. We'll have our vests there. We'll have some other products there as well too. And by the time you're listening to this episode, we're going to have our shirts out available as well too. So that's something that we're pretty stoked about. So
yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, man, our first camouflage shirt that we've got out. Drew, you can go into detail a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a lightweight, long sleeve shirt. Got a built-in hood into it, so nice and breathable, and wicks moisture pretty well. So yeah, you can find those on the website, groundedbrand.com, and then we'll have them at the show in Nashville with us, and in North Carolina at the Dixie Deer Classic.
Absolutely, man. I done forgot about that.
We keep talking about NWTF. We forget about Dixie Deer Classic.
We do, man. It's because it's like 3 weeks away.
It really is.
We've got so much to prepare for before we get there.
Yep.
And every day it feels like there's something to do.
For sure.
To get to that point. But
for sure.
But we're excited about it. So y'all definitely check on the website and look at those new shirts. We got them in Mossy Oak Bottomland and Mossy Oak Greenleaf are the patterns that we've got them in this year. So we're excited about it. We've had a lot of people ask that would come out with a camo shirt. So here you go. And we look forward to bringing it to you, and we really hope you guys like it as much as we do. With that being said, guys, one of the things that we hit on a lot and some things that we've already talked about is leaving a legacy behind, right?
Yep.
So one of the things that that we talk about when leaving a legacy is leaving this place better than the way we found it, correct?
Yeah.
For sure.
And so when we talk about the sport of turkey hunting, it's really hard to talk about leaving a legacy if you're not doing some type of predator control, right?
Yep.
And so one thing we wanted to hit on today, and one of the topics that we wanted to talk about, was trapping. And today we have a special guest with us. Hunter Crimm is joining us today from Millbrook, Alabama. And Hunter, we're thankful that Millport, Alabama, my bad. But man, we are so thankful to have you on today's episode because we know that you're going to help us get better in this area of trapping, and we just want to make sure that we do everything that we can, like I said just a minute ago, to leave this place better, to make sure that our kids have a place to be able to hunt, be able to fish, and just be able to carry their kids to as well too. So Hunter, welcome to the show, man.
Hey man, appreciate y'all having me on. It's an honor to even be considered. This is something I just kind of do every day in my everyday life, but I guess I do it a lot enough that it made an impact. So maybe I can help somebody else. So
that's right, man. I know you're going to bring a lot of impact to us for this because I know Drew's got some experience trapping a little bit. I've been fortunate enough to be able to go with Drew on a couple of those sets that he's set out. But I'm excited to learn for myself, man. And there's been a bunch of people that's hit me up that's interested in learning how to do it. But there may be a little bit of intimidation factor that goes along with that, right? And so hopefully we can shed some light on that to where they see it's really not as difficult as they may think it is, right? And
it ain't.
So
that hill I think it is. So
that's right, man. So Hunter, now that we got you on here, man, can you give us a little background on how you got started?
Well, I kind of was telling y'all earlier. When I was younger in high school, I had a cousin that was piddling around with it, and he kind of gave us he gave me I don't know how you want to say it, but he told me if I caught one coyote, he'd give me my woodsman's badge. So I don't know what a woodsman's badge is, but I wanted one. So
sounds cool.
It sounds cool, man.
Yeah, it
So
does.
we started doing, setting sets and watching videos, and there wasn't, at that time there really wasn't a lot out there on trapping. Nobody wanted to tell you any of the secrets. Like nowadays you can kind of get online and find out about anything you want to, but then it was all still secretive because the fur was bringing money, and and that was another reason we was wanting to make money to go on turkey hunting trips. So we figured if we caught some stuff, we would have a little bit of spending money. And so we caught a coyote, and I called my cousin and I told him, I said, "Look, we caught a coyote last night." And we had caught some foxes, but we never could get that coyote for some reason. And finally caught a coyote. And then he was like, "All right," well, he said, "Anybody can get lucky." He said, "You got to catch 2." And so we got 2, and it was 22, and then it was a lot more than that. And it was just boom, boom, boom. And so I guess he never gave me nothing that said Woodman's badge, but I know I got
it. Needless to say, you are a woodsman is what I'm going to go with, right?
It even went to the fact the other day, he called me and said, "Hey, man, what kind of bait was you using last week?" so he's a trapper, man. He caught 1,000,000 animals. He's pretty good too. So me and him, we have a good time together talking about it. So
that's awesome, man. So it really just started. You wanted that woodsman's badge, then, huh?
Yeah, it Woodsman's badge, man. That was a deal that we couldn't turn down. I mean, that was in it's 2023, and that was in 2001, 2, something like that. And I still remember that conversation. So,
Man, it sounds like something you get from the Boy Scouts.
That's what I was thinking.
It's an unofficial badge.
The Woodman's badge, but maybe I got it, maybe I didn't. I don't know, but
So
anyway.
going on into your trapping career, and then obviously you're a turkey hunter. You're talking about wanting to trap to make money, go on turkey hunting trips. Have you noticed any type of decline in your turkey population or turkey habitats, and how trapping can have an impact on that? Have you ever seen any of that firsthand?
Man, absolutely. I we were on my hunting club kind of before the coyote boom that I call around here. Everybody would say they seen a coyote here and there, but it wasn't as many as was started showing up. And but we would go down our roads after a rain, and we would see turkey tracks. I remember going and being turkey tracks just everywhere. And then all of a sudden they started kind of declining. And as we was getting into trapping and trying to figure out what was what, and figuring out kind of catching bobcats and catching raccoons and this and that and other, we didn't really see an impact until we started catching numbers. So I kind of emphasize on numbers. When you go into a track, say it's, I don't know, we'll just say it's a 300-acre track, right? So it's 300 acres, and you go in and you catch 3 or 4 coons. I mean, yeah, you caught some coons, something that's not going to eat, but you didn't do justice to that 300 acres. I'm talking about catching 30, 40 coons, catching 10 animals a night for 10 days, just going in and just hurting the population. When I started doing that, like around here, and you can really do that in the first year. You can go in, set a bunch of traps, knock it all out. That first year you'll have big numbers, and if you just maintain that over the next few years, catching 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or something, then that's when you know that you made a difference. But we went from seeing turkey tracks to seeing critter tracks to seeing turkey tracks again. It was, you could go down to a rain and it'd be turkey tracks everywhere. And we could go here, I don't know, 7 or 8 gobble in the morning, and which was pretty good for where we're at here in Millport. But even landowners that I had trapped for has called me back and say, "Are you going to trap this year? Because our turkey, we're declining in turkeys, and when you was trapping, we had turkeys."
Mm-hmm.
So I made a couple of posts about it, this and that and the other, and I know a lot of people harp on habitat. Yeah, you got to have habitat for turkeys, but you got to have something that's not eating your turkeys too. I mean,
Yeah.
They're out there every day. They're surviving on something that they catch and eat. And turkeys is one of them, man. Turkey and deer and rabbits and quail, and I mean that's how they survive. They can't go to McDonald's and get a fast food restaurant. I mean, they got to kill something to eat it,
That's right.
or they got to, So when you got a high density number of predators, you're not gonna have many turkeys. I mean, regardless of what you do. That's my opinion, and the habitat in Alabama and Mississippi, everywhere else, with all this timber cutting, it's making everything so thick, and the bobcats and the raccoons and the possums, and it's just, I mean, they're flourishing. Everybody runs deer cameras now,
Yeah.
and so their deer camera shows deer, but I guarantee you, every one of them's got 5 or 6 coons,
Yeah.
eating in their corn pile every night, and their cameras going off, and it'll just be coons,
Yep.
and you can go in right then now with some traps, and you can get them coons out in 2 or 3 nights and get out of there, and just you know move on. It don't You're gonna be in there pouring corn out in front of the camera most of the time anyway, so might as well go in there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I can say the same thing, man. So we've got a farm, and it's in Tennessee, but I mean, we used to have turkeys just everywhere. I mean, just like insane numbers of turkeys, and then all of a sudden we didn't have birds anymore, and we started trapping, and all of a sudden here they came back.
They
So
come back.
yeah, I mean, the same thing that you said is exactly true with what I've seen as well. Trapping makes a big difference, and people in South Georgia that have those big quail plantations down there, they talk about it, and on always having
Right.
wild coveys of birds down there. I mean, if you can have quail, you can for sure have turkeys because quail are a lot harder to raise. But I mean, they are always trapping on those big plantations down there,
I
and
hear these surveys, not to cut you off, but when I hear these surveys from like Auburn University on wild turkey science, they talk about doing these studies where they went in and trapped the area, and they didn't see a impactable difference, in just trapping. It took everything else. My question then is, all right, well, who'd they have trapping,
yeah,
and what y'all, like, so what was the numbers of what you called, and did you catch enough to make a difference,
Right.
or did you just a few, and then there's still a bunch out there, and you didn't really. It's hard to go by them surveys, and everybody gets stuck on that, but there's so many factors in the end of that survey that raises, it raises a red flag for me, because I've just done it, and
hmm
other trappers have done it that catch big numbers on a track, and their landowners dancing, they're happy as can be when it comes spring, because turkeys gobbling everywhere.
Right.
They're jumping quail that they hadn't seen in 10 years. It's just, I mean, it's a big difference.
yeah,
So one of the questions that I had, as you know, the running joke is I've never been turkey hunting, but one of the questions I had is like, what's more impactful? Is it getting rid of the coyotes or is it getting rid of the raccoons? Because I would imagine, each of them has like a different skill set that really will impact the population. But I'm curious.
Well,
I'm curious to know, like, what are your thoughts?
the coon is only going to kill a turkey by eating eggs. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, a coon ain't
Yeah.
going to run a turkey down and catch it and kill it. That's it. But there's so many coons, and they're on the ground and they're searching all the time.
Yep.
So they're running there and they're finding eggs, and they're cracking them and they're busting them. And they're sitting there and they're eating the whole nest.
Right.
A hen will in, but as far as a coyote at night and this, that, and other, a coyote running roads and it's looking for scent, pick up on a rabbit to cross the road or something another. A coyote, in my opinion, is not going. They got to run across a hen on a nest, see
Mm-hmm.
her literally, see her to kill her and eat the eggs. You know, he's going to be more prone to catching them on the side of the road or in the edge of a field or at a feeder. that's just attack points like bobcats and coyotes. They're going to attack situations like that, and I mean they may catch one out of 10 tries maybe. They're not as productive as a coon is when it's going in and eating all your eggs out of the nest. That the
Yep.
turkeys that you never knew was there was going to have opportunity to be there are gone because the nest is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
I say,
that's kind of what I would have thought is, coyote's going to go more after like the actual bird than it is eggs or something like that, where raccoon, they're terrorizing your
Well, I think
your
there's a
nest.
big misconception that people, when they think about turkey numbers being down, it used to be, well, there's too many coyotes. That's where everybody's mind went to begin with, right? And to me, I just
yeah,
never thought that a coyote was elusive enough to be able to catch a turkey without its defense being down, like you said, with it being on its nest or catching it while it was eating or something like that. And the cats may be a little bit different. They probably have a better opportunity as far
I've
as catching one.
Yeah.
I've got a picture this year on a place that I was deer hunting, and it was a clover patch, and I just had a camera on this clover patch, and there wasn't no corn, no supplemental feed, nothing. It was just a camera looking at this green field, and I was having turkeys coming through it every day. You would see that group of hens come through, and then they'd come back through, and
Mm.
it. One day I was looking at the camera, and I got a picture, and it was a coyote, and he had caught one of them hen turkeys, and he was running in front of that camera holding the hen turkey in his mouth. I'll send it to you on in a little bit, a picture of it. But I posted it on Facebook too. You may find it there. But
Wow.
so the coyote actually had caught one of them hen turkeys. I guess ambushed it in that field
Yeah.
and was running through that field with it in his mouth.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
So I mean, I know that they catch it because I've seen it. Well, right there on my own personal game camera.
Right.
And you hear other people talking about it, but I lived it. So I mean, I know they catch them, but they're not catching all 20 of them.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But once they eat a turkey, I figure they want another one. I do.
I know that's right. That's why we keep going back. Ain't
That's
it?
right. Well, let's jump into like
Yeah.
specific species and help our listeners out. Hey, this is what you want to do if you catch a raccoon or possum, and then coyote and cats, if you're good with that. Just talking about raccoons, I think they're probably about the easiest. But I'm not a professional like you are when it comes to this. What traps do you feel like are most effective? Bait that people might think about using, things like that.
Okay. All right. Well, I run Duke traps because I live right here close to West Point, and I can just run over and get whatever I need. Pretty easy. Back before I sold all my traps, before my son was born, and I sold all my trapping stuff, and then got back into it when I started running out of turkeys. I I was running a trap called Coon Dagger, and it was a push pull trigger. It was a square tube, had a round trigger, and they could push or pull the trigger to make it go off. Z Traps makes it now, and then they make modifications, for other traps to make push pull. But I just more or less I run a Duke dog proof, and I've ordered kits to make it push pull. The Coon Dagger was my go-to trap, but that guy has recently passed away, or that I found out during the time that I sold them all. And if I could get them back, I would in a heartbeat because they was dynamite. But nobody has picked that patent up, I guess, and started it again. But maybe they will soon. But that was kind of the trap that I use as far as dog proof. And what I did for a long time is I just went to the dollar store and bought cat food, just normal cat food in a bag. I got the fish flavored or whatever, and I would take the cat food, and then if we fried fish or something, I would take that oil and put it in there on that cat food and kind of shake it up, and I would put it. That's what I use for my bait. And since then, I've kind of moved to a guy named Jerry Flynn. He's in Missouri. He he's got a coon bait, which I got some over here. It's called Malicious, and it's a catfish based granule that he puts a a scent on, and that's kind of my go-to now. Side by side beside the cat food, I can run cat food with fish oil on it, and I can run his malicious with two traps sitting right beside each other. Malicious, it catches every time. So that's kind of what I use now.
Do you use any kind of side attractants like golf balls or anything like that to entice them to come in?
No, I don't. I try to place my trap in places where feeders are or corn piles, and then I put them on every ditch. So if you go into your place and you're going down the road and you run across the ditch, if it's a culvert, I put one on both sides, one on the left, one on the right, opposite sides of the ditch, no matter what. And there's usually a little trail right there, but they seem to go down them lower spots. That's how they travel through your place. And I put it on the ridge versus down in the bottom. That way, if I'm going for 10 days, it's going to rain most time during them 10 days, and I don't want to have to move it up out of the ditch.
I see.
The only time I set a coon trap down in the bottom of the ditch will be if I want to do like a 1.5 coil spring under the water. Like if there's a good coon trail going across the little ditch right there, and I see where they're kind of going down into the water, I may set a coil spring there so it's hunting no matter if the rain gets up or down. But I always set my DPs up on the bank. In your bigger ditches, like your creeks or stuff like that, when you go up on them, I'm sure y'all know, but if you look at them, there's always a coon trail on both sides of the creek. It's faint, but like when it snowed the other day, and I bet y'all seen it too if y'all got out, but you can see every trail in the woods after a snow or a rain. I mean, a snow or a ice, like it iced the other day. And them trails across them creeks were so defiant, man. It was like, there it is. So I recommend if it comes to snow or in your area or anything, to get out right around. Look around them dishes, you'll see the trails. And all I do is I put that bait in there, I put the trap right in the trail, and go on. I mean, I get out, I got the trap on the tree in a minute. If I put my bait in it, all I do is cover the trigger. I don't put nothing else around it. I just drop one in there, go the other side, drop one in there, and I'm in the truck going to the next one. And but you never pass a ditch and don't set a trap on it.
Okay.
Now, what about like bobcats and coyotes though? Because I don't think they necessarily follow the same trail like a coon would. So, I mean,
they don't. But your coyote, and your coon travel the same path that you travel.
Okay.
Got
it. They're going. I mean, they're in the woods, and you don't see them, but y'all walk down roads all the time, and you see all the tracks in the roads, in the tire, the coon tracks, coyote tracks, bobcat tracks, So I set intersections. Anywhere a road comes into the road from left or right or whatever, set a 4-way, and most time I set a double set. So like if I'm at a 4-way intersection, I may set 4 sets, one at every road coming into the 4-way, for my coyote trap. And that's when you get into, when you're trapping on your place, you don't really want to ride around or have anybody else riding around, because you need to know where the traps are so you'll miss them and somebody else won't run over them.
Right.
But that's the most productive thing. That when I first started trapping, getting back to when I was trying to get my woodsman badge, I was getting up in the woods and getting little trails out in, building little cubbies up in a briar thicket, and just doing a lot of unnecessary work that I didn't have to do, that I could have done. I could have stepped out of the truck, put it right there in the ground, and went on about my business. And so that's when you get to getting a lot of traps in the ground, because you're working right out of the back of your truck. When I pull up on a place, most time, unless I'm in a big cornfield or something where I'm going out into the field to set, but most time that's right off a little road that goes through it. But most time I just pull up, I let my tailgate down, I got everything right there. I set the trap, get it right out of my truck, pull up, get another one. I got a golf cart that I trap off pretty regular, and so that's pretty simple. And But you need to look for anywhere you see coyote tracks, bobcat tracks in the road. That's where you set. And it's better to set right where your tire goes, really. So when you're checking them, you got to go around.
Yeah.
Instead of driving right over it, you got to go around it. You want to put it in front of where they're traveling.
Gotcha.
And that's when I figured that out. That's when I started catching numbers. And it really started hitting home then. So I'd jump out and I'd do a dirt hole or do a what I call a piss set, or pull a log out into a road. Like if you got a long straight,
Mm-hmm.
you can grab a log, drag it out, put it right at your first tire track, 2-track going down through there, and set a trap right at the end of it, and put a little bait or lure on the end of that log, and man, that set's dynamite, especially for coyotes. They're running that road. They're gonna go, even if a coyote ain't hungry, he'll work your set. Like if you got food in that hole that you're using, which I'll tell you in a minute what I use for my bait, but he's still gonna mark it, and he'll remember it, and he'll come back to it later.
Mm-hmm.
So he's liable to hike up and piss or her or whatever on the end of that log. Well, most of the time they get in your trap.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really worry about scent control much. I wear gloves and I wear knee pads just because I don't want to get my knees, in the dirt and mud. And I wear gloves just because most of the time it's cold or whatever. But I have set a bunch of traps just barehanded when I forgot my gloves and catch just the same number of coyotes and all. You're not gonna beat their nose. And I would when I first started trapping, I would set my trap with one pair of gloves, take them off, put another pair of gloves on, and put my bait in the hole and all. And it's just time consuming. You really can't get a bunch in the ground that way. So now I put on a set of gloves if I got them. I do everything with them gloves. And another thing, which I told you I kind of ramble, but the gloves, when you're fooling with that trap, you're gonna get scent on that trap.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times a coyote will come up and he'll smell that trap and he'll roll on it. Or if another coyote's come by and like piss close to it, they'll roll on it, make that trap go off, and you'll have hair in your trap. And you'll be like, well, he pulled out. But most of the time that's back hair.
Okay.
Where the coyote kind of pulled over on it,
Mm-hmm.
That's going to happen. If it happens more time than not, set that trap back, move just one side or another, and put you another trap. Most of the time you'll have them in that
The
second trap that you put, and then they won't roll on it.
So tell us what I know you talked about the dog proof traps with the raccoons. You're not setting those for the coyotes too. It's a different trap, or is it the same trap?
No, it's a different trap. So the dog proof trap is just a tube trap, and you're only gonna catch a coyote. I mean, you're only gonna catch a coon, a possum, or a skunk. I have caught a gray fox in it, but the one that I caught a gray fox in was a coon dagger, and it was a push pull. So I know he got in there with his little hand and pushed it.
Yep.
Pushed it down, caught it. That was actually a trap that I had forgot about on a landowner, and that's another thing. You kind of need to write them down when you put them. When you put 150, you forget some here and there, and you need to make now you can pull up Onyx or something and drop a pin on where you put them all, but you kind of need to keep up with it. But that guy called me and said, hey man, you got a fox over here? And I said, no. I said, I done pulled all my traps. He said, well, I'm telling you, there's a fox over here bouncing around. And so that gray fox was in a coon trap, and I could not believe it.
Wow.
Oh my God.
That's pretty cool.
I got that fox. That's the only time I've ever caught something besides a target animal in that. On my foot traps for coyote, I use Duke. I used to use MB 550s, which that was the golden standard for coon traps. They was the most expensive at the time, but they was the golden standard for traps. They was already night latched and ready to go. All you did was order them when you got them out of the box. You boiled them, put your stakes on them, and you went setting. Now Duke has come out with a MB. They got it. It ain't MB. It's Duke 650 and a Duke 550 Pro Series. And in my opinion, that's the cat's meow now. I mean, it's a great trap. It works great. The 650, um, it's got a bigger catch area. And for my pan covers, I just use coffee filters.
Mm-hmm.
I've used screen wire. I've used all kind of stuff. I use the trap cover, but I just use coffee filters now. I take coffee filters and I bend them and I cut the two sides off just a little bit so it ain't in jaws, and that way when it rains, I have no problem with it, and it makes the trap go off. So I use coffee filters for my pan covers. I use the Duke either 650. I don't know. I got 5 dozen 650s and probably 5 dozen 550s, and I just rotate them in and out, just whatever I grab. I like both of them pretty much the same, I would say. And so I set that, and what my main set is a dirt hole. So I'll take a drill. I got a DeWalt drill with a 2-inch auger bit on the drill. So I'll get out, and what I do first is I get out and I kind of look around and I find either a tuft of grass or a stump or something, and I go and I drill me 2 holes because I'm always going to set 2 sets, at least 2.
Why are
So
you
I'll drill me
always
2.
going to set 2 on that?
I'm always going to set 2 coyote traps. I never just set one in one place. I'll either set a stump set with a log drug out in the road and then a dirt hole kind of over there by it. But if it's an area that's good enough to set one, you might as well set 2. And
Okay.
a lot of times you'll have double. You'll have a coyote and a coon, or a coyote and a possum, or 2 coons, or something. If you got out of your truck and you said, I need to set a trap right here, you need to set 2. So
Gotcha.
So I'll get out with a drill. I'll drill me two holes if that's what I'm gonna do, and then I'll put the drill up and I'll get my traps out, and then I'll dig my holes, set my anchors. I use super stakes, which is I get from F&T, and they come an 18-inch chain on it. And I used to cut some of my links of the chain off, but now I just use the hole just like they come. I double swivel the bottom of it, hook them together, put the super stakes on it, and so I drive that in the ground, set my trap, put my coffee filter on it, cover it with the local dirt. Sometimes I carry dirt with me, but in Alabama you really don't have to. So I just I use the local dirt there with what I have to work with, and I set my trap. It's offset 2 inches to the right and 9 inches back. So pretty much if you do your finger like that, and I always set my trap to the right. I don't know if that's just the way I like to do it. Some people do it to the left, but I think more humans is predominantly right-handed.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is when the coyote goes up the trap, he's gonna go up with his right hand first. If you notice yourself stepping somewhere to look at something, most time your right foot, if you're right foot dominant or right hand dominant, your right foot's in front of your left.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of lead with your right. So I figure that's what they do, and I don't know. That may be in my head. That's what I like to do. So
Sounds good to me.
Working right.
I would have believed it.
But I mean, that's kind of that's what I think. And so I always offset it 2 inches to the right, 9 inches back, 8 to 9 inches back. And you want the ground after you dig a hole about 2.5, 3 inches deep. Put your trap down in the hole, and then take your sifter, sift dirt over the top of it. And this is before you pack your trap. So you sift dirt over the top of it, and then I come in and I take the back of my hand and I rub down to the pan. So I rub down the pan, I find my pan, I kind of get it open, and then I press the dirt down in a circular motion all around it.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to make sure that the trap is bedded solid. It has to be no wobble in it at all. If they step on the side of it and it moves, they'll kind of shy away from it a little bit. So you want that trap to be bedded rock solid, and that's almost as important as putting it, in the tire tracks in the road where they're at. If that may be the most important thing of the whole deal, really, is getting your trap bedded solid, and then you want the ground on both sides of the trap to be level. You don't want it to be in a dip, or if it rains, that dip's going to fill up and it's going to sink down all around your trap, and it's not going to be good. You want your ground to be level on both sides of your trap. So I'll take my hammer if I'm, kind of rake everything back and level it all out. And when I get done with my set for a coyote, like if I did a dirt hole for a coyote, my spot where my trap is about 2 foot wide, 2 foot by 2 foot messed up dirt, and with one little hole kind of at the back of it. You don't want it to be confined. I've noticed, and this is what I'm saying, what worked for me, but I've noticed when I tried to confine my messed up dirt and stuff in front of that trap, I didn't catch near as many. You want the whole area to be blended, look natural to them, like some dug a hole, because what they think is something come through there, dug a hole, put a rat or something down at the bottom of it, and they're gonna come back and eat it in a little bit. And so when another animal comes through there, they're trying to steal it, from that thing. And you usually don't. When you see that, it's not one little spot. It's pretty big, tore up, and that's kind of. I found that to make a difference with my coyotes for sure. I know we talked about
what kind of lure are you using on those?
I use my bait is I get from No BS Lures. It's called RK's Predator Plus, and you can look that up on any trap website or whatever. But I use Predator Plus. I have a lot of luck with it. And then on my lures, I use Hallbecker's Coyote 500 and 200. On my Bobcat sets, I like to use Hallbecker's Widowmaker 800. That's kind of the only thing that's in my bag is them two traps, and them Duke traps, RK's Predator Plus. About, I don't know, I order it by the gallons.
Gotcha.
I go through a good bit of it, and then I use the Hallbecker's Coyote 500 and 200, and that's kind of my go-to. That's simple. You ain't all over the place, and they work. And when they quit working, I'll change. But right now,
that's working.
It's working. Ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
That's right. So Hunter, you talked about you cut your teeth on catching coyotes, right? Is what you said, trying to get your woodsman's badge.
Yeah.
So for somebody that's just out there starting
correct.
for the first time, who doesn't have a mentor, who doesn't have any experience with trapping at all, would you recommend going into coyote trapping and bobcat trapping first, or do you think they ought to cut their teeth on raccoons and possums and stuff like that?
I think raccoons. I think you need to make sure that you're trapping for raccoons and possums. Coyotes, typically, you're not going to catch them the second, third night. I mean, every now and then you'll catch them on the first night, but most time they're second, third, fourth, fifth. That's kind of why when I trap a place, I do it for 10 days, because I may set the trap on the first day and not catching it to the 10th day. Coyotes are territorial, so you may come through and you be like, man, I have coyote tracks everywhere. I went on to a place where there was coyote tracks everywhere, and I set traps everywhere. Like I'm finna catch 20 right here, and I'll set traps everywhere. I'll check them every day and not have one. And it's just because they didn't come through. They was roaming the territory, come through that place the day before I got there and left all them tracks, and they was gone down the road 2 or 3 miles. And then all of a sudden, when I pull traps, they come back, and he's like, "Hey man, there's something digging in every one of your holes that you set." So I'll go back, set in, start catching them. It's just you can get down on coyote trapping pretty quick because you're not rewarding yourself every day.
Right.
When you set coon traps, possum traps, you reward yourself every morning. I mean, you get up, you can about guarantee if you went and put some DPs out on the side of the creeks and in a couple of corn piles, you're going to have a coon to look at when you get there.
That's right.
If you do that, you're getting benefit from what you're doing, and then you can throw in coyote traps here and there as you go. And you just, a lot of people will go get traps, and as soon as they get them out of the box, they'll put an anchor on them or a piece of rebar, and they'll go set them with oil on them. They hadn't boiled them, they hadn't did the prep work that you need to do to get the trap right, and they won't catch anything. Like, man, I tried that, I didn't do no good. You just need to, if you'll do the right steps, which is not that hard. You just get your traps from the store, bring them home, boil them, put your proper cane system on them to stake them to the ground, and then go out and set you a little dirt hole, put it in, get it level, get it solid, and just let it hunt. You don't have to go back and rebait it every day. I know a guy told me the other day. He said, "Man, I've been setting coyote traps. I ain't got nothing." He said, "I'm rebaiting them. I'm going by there every day." That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that bait will be there for. I mean, it'll be there for a long time. That 3 weeks after you set, they'll still be digging in that hole where that bait is down in the ground. You'll see where something's come through. Since you left and dug at that bait. So just do it one time. You get your human scent out of there. The only time you need to go back to a trap is when you either caught something, you need to reset it, or it rained and it washed some of the dirt off top of your pan. You can see your pan cover. Maybe get a little dirt, sift it back over the top of it, and get out of there.
You also talked about how often you would run a trap. I think you said you would set a trap for maybe 10 days at a time, and then you'd go back and check them every so often. How often are you actually checking your traps once you get them set in place?
Well, I'm checking my traps every day.
Yeah.
So when you set, you need to make sure that you have the time to do it properly.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot set traps in a place and make impactful difference if you don't have the time to go in and do it. And that's why trappers like myself now, we used to make money on fur. Like, that's because it's expensive to do it. It's expensive to buy traps, it's expensive to put gas in your truck, expensive to do the whole deal, especially if you've got another job you need to be at, or whatever.
Right.
So you need to make sure that you got the time to do it right. I know people that have set some coyote traps, and they may not check them for 2 or 3 days. And I'm like, dude, would you want to be held somewhere for 2 or 3 days? Without
Right.
no food or water? I mean, that's unethical.
Right.
So you need to make sure that you got time to when you go set your place, you got time to go into the place, set the traps, and then have time to check them either in the morning or the afternoon when you get off work. Run and set them, and sometimes, like, you'll have a coyote come through and kind of flip your trap up out of the pan. I mean, out of the hole, or a coon or something, knock your trap over. You just need to look at it, and that way you're being more productive. So you need to run your traps every day.
Yeah. You kind of hit on one thing that I want to talk about, which is, there's ethics involved, and, we're big fans of leaving things better than, we found it. And, obviously it's a big part of turkey hunting to, trap and make sure you're controlling the population and things like that. But there's an ethical side of it as well. And like you hit on, you don't want to leave a coyote sitting there for 2-3 days while it's just, looking for food or water. So can you talk about some of those ethics that, to make sure you're doing this in an ethical way?
Well, you just, like I say, you just, if you're going to do it in your hunting club, say 2 or 3 of your buddies, you need to get everybody on board to where if something comes up with you, you got somebody else that knows where them traps are that can go run them for you. But like, call John and say, "Hey, John, I need you to check them traps for me this morning. I got something come up at work." You need to. It's kind of more of a group thing. Have people ride with you to check. And that way they can check them for you, even if they're not resetting them back. They're at least getting the animals for you out of the out of the traps. I totally disagree with waiting a day or two to check them. I mean, that's in a lot of states that's not legal, for one thing. You need to check your state laws. What I'll do is I'll set traps for one day when I get to your place. I'll set them that day, and then every morning, whether it's 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever, I'll run them traps. And if I don't have time to reset before I need to be on a job, I'll just get the animals out, and then I'll come back after the job and reset, or let that trap not hunt the next night, and reset it when I come back through the next time when I got time. But make time to go through and check the traps, as fast as possible. Because I mean, even if you don't like them, you don't like a coon, you're trying to get rid of them. I mean, you can't abuse them.
That's right.
You need to remove them, whatever you're gonna do, kill them or take them somewhere else or whatever you decide you're gonna do with it once you catch it. Um, traps don't hurt the animal per se. I catch my hand. If I'm gonna set a bunch, I catch my hand all the time. I wore 330 counter bears on my arm out the window to the house. Somebody take it off of me before.
Yeah.
That catching your hand that's just gonna happen.
Yeah.
And you're gonna catch your hand more if you're scared too.
Yeah.
If you're scared of that trap,
it's gonna get you. That's right, man. So you hit on regulations, taking your state regulations and all that stuff. What are some regulations? I know you're in Alabama. For those who are listening to Alabama that want to get out there and get started on this, what is something that you can help them out with here?
Well, in the state of Alabama, and really anywhere, you got to have a trapper's license. So just cause you bought your deer hunt license and you got everything else, you got to go back and get the fur harvester license. And you got to have that before you can start trapping. They went up every year like everything else, but you got to have it. And then, like in Mississippi, I get my fur trapping license in Mississippi. That's $500. But they've almost got it out of reach for a lot of people. Just to buy a license, after you buy a $450, $500 deer license, and then you get another $500 license just so you can trap some coons off a place you lease.
Right.
Then you got to pay for the lease. So, man, it's money game now more than anything. That's why
the ROI on that just ain't as good as it used to be, because like I think you hit on earlier, the fur price, what you get for it's just nothing now compared to what it used to be. You used to be able to pay that $500 and it wasn't an issue because you knew you would get your money back.
You would get your money back plus some. I mean, that was but now the fur market has gone. NAFA is no more. And that's where a lot of furs go. I know a lot of people's got fur up there that they hadn't got back from 3 or 4 years ago that didn't sell and they hadn't got back. So that was a whole trapping season worth of fur. They may have sent 100 bobcats up there to sell.
Yeah.
They didn't sell, whatever, and then they ain't got them back. So they just all that work was lost.
Yeah.
So what I kind of do is I look at the land or whatever, and then I give a price on what I'll do it for.
Right.
And I'm helping you the way I look at it. So you help me, we're helping each other now.
Yeah.
But if one or two people in a hunting club decide that they want to trap and they kind of figure it out, man, it takes the bulk off one person.
Yeah.
One, and you can kind of tally, gather your money up or whatever. You pay money all year long to put out corn. You're not going to let your corn run out more than 3 or 4 days.
Right.
Because your pitchers quit. So you're going to buy rice bran of corn and you're going to get it on the ground.
That's right, man.
So, and then you're changing batteries in your camera. So you think about all that money you just spent on doing that, and think about how much the coons and stuff ate. And then you're setting up for turkeys and deer to come in so the coyotes and stuff can eat them when they come in there. So you got to sit back and think about, how do I want to spend my money this year, and start putting it in the right places. I mean, you can kill a deer anywhere. You ain't got to kill it over that corn, so maybe not feed for 2 weeks and either buy some traps or hire a trapper.
That's right.
And come in and save some deer. Some clubs will feed deer all year long and not kill anything. Like, I didn't have a deer on camera I wanted to kill. I had one target buck, and so-and-so killed it 3 miles down the road. And we didn't kill anything, and and then turkey season comes around, man, we ain't hearing much, you know.
Yep.
Well, you just fed coons and your possums and your coyotes all year long with
That's
your corn
right.
pile.
Yeah, I
that's
think
exactly right.
I think people would be more inclined to go with a club if they said, "Hey, we bring a trapper in here every year to come get rid of some of this population and stuff."
Yeah.
People
Either
pay an
that
extra
or
buck for that.
Either that or with most clubs, I mean, there's several retired people that's going to be in each club, you know. So if you could just find a few of them and teach them how to do this,
Oh, yeah.
it's be right up their alley. So.
Club pays them an extra,
Yeah.
or you get like your lease for
fees
free
for
or
free,
something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
I tell people all the time, they're like, well, way out charge, and everybody does it different, but I do it $2 an acre. And so if you got 500 acres, you know, and I'm there for 10 days, I took everything off. And that's kind of been my best deal. But if you got 10 people in that hunting club or whatever, you know, everybody pitches in, that's nothing compared to what you've been spending.
That's right.
Stuff, yeah. And you will see the benefits of it. You just have to trust that you'll see the benefits, and you will. It's a turnaround, man. It's crazy the difference that it makes when you go in and make an impactful difference on removing your predators. I mean, it just is. I've seen it time and time again. It just makes a difference.
I mean, even if you just start coon trapping, you know, and let's say, you know, you're not really catching a lot, but you catch some, but you save, you know, 3 turkey nests in that 1 year. Well, you're looking at 15, 20 turkeys right there for that 1 year.
Yep.
Well, what are they going to produce in the next 3 years that you just saved all because you caught 25 coons off of a place and just ran them for, you know, a week at a time? It's not hard, but it's a numbers game, man. You start, you know, it kind of snowballs just like your IRA.
Yeah.
So
compound interest, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So, and right now is a great time to go in for somebody that don't know much about trapping and buy some coon traps and set them on their corn piles, because they're fishing they're finna let their feeders run out, you know, for turkey season, and they're gonna quit pouring the corn out on the ground or whatever. And them coons and all that's been coming and eating in all them spots is they're gonna be hungry.
Yep.
So if you got they're gonna get in it. So you're fishing to catch. You're finna catch a lot, you know, and you finna reward yourself for what you're doing. And I mean, a dozen traps is what, $100? I mean, it ain't.
Yeah, it's not that expensive.
It's not that expensive.
Yeah,
and,
now's the time to do it.
Yeah, and right now is the time to be, between now and turkey season is the time to be getting your nest predators off, and it's something to do. And you ain't sitting in a stand for 3-4 hours. You go set some for an hour or two. Tell the wife, I'm gonna get up and run my traps right quick before we go to church. You know, you're back. Y'all go eat lunch, and you ain't worried about going somewhere, and you still got in the woods. So
that's right.
Win-win for everybody right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the turkeys too.
And the turkeys. That's it, man. That's what we're trying to do.
Well.
Yep.
Y'all got any more questions?
I don't think I've got anything. I think we've pretty much hit on everything, Hunter.
Man, I think so.
I think you brought a lot of valuable information to our listeners today, including myself and Colton and Drew. And man, we're just honored that you hopped on here with us.
I'm ready to go try to catch a coyote now. I never caught a coyote or a bobcat.
Yeah.
Got plenty of coons. I'm ready to go try to catch a coyote now.
Send me a picture of it.
That's right.
Catch 2 for you get
You gonna give me a woodsman badge?
We want that woodsman's badge.
I was trying to say.
Yeah.
I think we actually need to get Hunter a woodsman's badge. Based on what he said, he never actually received it. So.
We'll make some stickers or something.
Yeah, we'll get you a sticker
woodsman
made
know what it is.
Yeah, that's
Y'all get up there at TF hanging out, and somebody comes by with one to grab it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
That's right, man. Well, hey, listen, if you make it to the NWTF show, man, we would love to see you in person and get to talk to you a little bit more and get to hang out with you, man. Again, we can't thank you enough for hopping on here with us and just giving us a nice little education this afternoon about trapping. And right now, like you spoke on earlier, now's the time to be doing it, right? So, so just be checking your state regulations and make sure that you take some information that you took from this podcast and get out in the woods and set some traps, man. Let's save some turkeys, right?
That's right.
So
I hear you.
Let's put some more turkeys on the ground.
That's it, man. But Hunter, thanks again, buddy. We really appreciate everything that you brought to the table today. I think you've definitely enlightened our audience a lot. And where can people find you at, man? Do you have a Facebook page or Instagram or anything like that they can reach out to you with?
I've got a Facebook. It's just my name, Hunter Crimm. I try to post some stuff on there, but not just a lot, but I got I did a YouTube video actually yesterday
Okay.
with Woodsman Perspective podcast. Some buddies of mine did some coon trapping yesterday, so y'all may want to check that out. Just look on you can find it on my Facebook or just Google Hunter Crimm on YouTube.
Okay.
And it should pop up, and it's about a 15, 16-minute video with just me getting some traps ready and kind of how I set stuff up. So that was a pretty neat deal. So
yeah, man, that's cool. We can definitely set that link up into the comments or in the
we'll link it in the show notes and stuff so people can check that out.
Yeah, we'll make sure they find you on there. But guys, what else, man?
That's it.
I think that's it. Hunter, thank you so much for your insights and, teaching us more about trapping.
Okay. All right. That'll work, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
All right, guys. Well, thank you. This has been episode number 3 of the Grounded Brand podcast. So once again, thank you to Hunter for, enlightening us on the insights of trapping and everything like that. And thanks again for listening to this episode. The feedback lately has been awesome. Like we said, we're 3 episodes in, and we're glad we get to provide this as a resource for everyone. So, if you got any comments or suggestions on episodes you want to see, be sure to leave them in the comments or, message us on Instagram, Facebook, send us an email. We're open ears. So, like Brandon said at the beginning of the episode, we will be at NWTF. I think, what is it, February 15th through the 18th?
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's right.
We'll be at NWTF, and then we'll also be at the Dixie Deer Classic. So, y'all be sure to check us out and everything like that as we, we come see you. And be sure to follow us on social media, Grounded Brand Outdoors on all the social media platforms, and leave us a comment, and we'll be talking to you all in the next episode.